10 years ago this month, Renee Collins and Pete Delhomme were murdered inside this apartment complex in Orlando. For 10 years, no arrest by police. For 10 years, no answers for the family.
They didn't say exactly what happened, but I knew.
Now, 10 years later, what could be a major break in this cold case mystery.
It all comes after 9 investigators asked Orlando police for access to the case files.
The victims at the mystery, Renee Collins and Peterson Delhomme, who went by Pete. In the first of 3 powerful stories over the next 90 minutes, 9 investigates Shannon Butler brings us the story of their tragic deaths.
Orlando police opened their cold cases to us after we asked for access to try to find closure for some of these families. Tonight, I'll take you through that investigation on what happened then and what we've learned now. Renee Collins was home at this apartment in the early morning hours of July 17, 2015, with her 2-year-old son. Her boyfriend, Peterson Delhomme, worked the overnight shift and was headed home. But shortly after they were reunited, they were killed.
Why would someone do that to them? They didn't live a life that warranted that type of death, or in front of their child, taken from us, taken from them. Why would someone do that?
We still don't know. Renee talked to her family every night. The night before she died was no different.
I didn't know that would be the last conversation.
But the call the next day was not from Ray Collins' daughter. It was from Orlando police.
They didn't say exactly what happened, but I knew.
So he headed to Orlando.
The longest ride I ever took in my life.
It was there Ray got the news his daughter and her boyfriend were dead, brutally murdered inside this Rosemont apartment, and detectives still didn't know why. Detective Mike Mareschi told us that day that neighbors heard gunshots. One man even said he saw Delhomme trying to get out of the home but was pulled back in. Detectives say the couple struggled to save their lives and the life of their son, but couldn't. Their son untouched, but found walking around in his own parents' blood.
This is easily one of the most violent scenes that I've ever been to. And it's made more horrific by the fact that PJ definitely saw what happened to his parents.
Collins worked as a service manager at a local Wells Fargo bank, and Pete, as they called him, worked 2 security jobs. Authorities said both were from West Palm Beach and had been living in Orlando for only a short time. There was nothing in their life that would suggest they were in danger, and now the family waits for those answers, not only on who did it, but why.
You asked, knowing what would that do? I don't know. I think it'll bring some type of comfort because we'll have an answer.
Yeah.
And that's what my late wife really wanted, was an answer.
Renee's mom died just a few years after her death. The family says she died of a broken heart. As for PJ, he is living with the Collins family and doing okay. But they, as you heard, would like closure. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to show you what detectives have learned now that could give them just that. In Orlando, Shannon Butler, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
In the next hour, we bring you part 2 of this special series. 9 Investigates returns to the scene with the detective now on the case who believes a new look could lead to a break in this case.
It was brutal. And probably I've looked at many photographs, I've looked at many videos, I've responded to many scenes, and in this one, it's just awful, just absolutely awful.
What happened behind this door has been a mystery for 10 years. 2 people murdered. The only survivor, a little boy. Now we go back to the scene with police.
This is where the blood was on the door.
Yes, it was right on the wall here.
9 investigates with unprecedented access to the scene, the files, and brand new evidence in this cold case mystery.
In July of 2015, Renee Collins and Pete Delhomme were found dead in their Orlando apartment. In our 4 o'clock newscast, we took you back to the day it all happened and introduced you to family members frustrated with the lack of progress.
Yeah, Martha, now 9 investigates Shannon Butler returns to the scene 10 years later with the detective who says this case may no longer be cold.
Okay, okay, I have your address is 5255 Center Lane Parkway, number 358. What's going on there?
I don't know, somebody beat the hell out of somebody. I'm not doing it. I gotta go home to the job. and somebody screaming and hollering. I don't want somebody to beat the boy, shoot the boy, or wood.
So we get a 911 call. It's really frantic, and he tells them, I heard some commotion, and my neighbor see him coming out of his apartment, and somebody pulls him back in, but that's all I could see. I'm not there anymore.
He hears the noises?
He hears noises. He hears, like, arguing. He hears, like, a slamming noise.
Those noises came from apartment 358, the home of Renee Collins and Peterson Delhomme and their 2-year-old son. And what detectives found inside was that the couple was brutally murdered.
This is where the blood was on the door?
Yes, it was right on the wall here.
We went back to the complex 10 years later with Detective Anne-Marie Eason. She was not the investigator back then, but now is in charge of trying to solve this cold case. It started here at the front door.
So immediately you realize whoever it was probably did not come out the front door?
Correct. 100%. It's locked. The deadbolt is locked. The bottom is locked, so they know that this person didn't come in, go out the front, but they didn't really know where he could have gone.
But whoever it was gone. Peterson, or Pete as they called him, worked as a security guard overnights. His shift ended about 6 a.m. and he headed home. Renee would have been getting ready to go to work at a local bank. But she never made it because by 8 a.m., they were dead.
We think Pete came in when this was happening. He was working. He comes home around a little after 7 a.m. and his phone would tell us that. His phone would tell us that that's very probable that that's what happened, that he comes home a little after 7 a.m. You know, she's getting ready for work because she's half dressed. And nothing that says anything else happened to her. It's clear from inside there is quite a struggle. It's clear that our victims fought, and they fought to try and stay safe.
Clear because of just how violent the scene was. I went to Orlando Police to this conference room to look through the pictures. There were stacks of evidence in the case. From the photographs, you can see the apartment was full of blood. Their 2-year-old son, PJ, still inside, but unharmed. Detectives found it was not a robbery, and there was no sign of forced entry. In fact, investigators believe that the person could have left through this sliding glass door.
I know I'm looking at that. You're 3 stories up.
Yeah, but you could always come off the balcony, go to your second one and jump.
Or just
spider your way back down or
right
at all.
Was the car still here?
The car was still here. Their car was. But that front door was locked. We had to get that taken off in order to get inside. And as you come inside, Pete is there laying on the floor deceased, and Renee is in the bedroom deceased. There's drag marks, there's footprints, but there's only one set of footprints. It's all the same. So that's why so hard-pressed to say it was one person, one deranged individual who either had a bone to pick, a score to settle, or to quiet somebody.
The case made even harder to solve because the couple was quiet and there was no indication there was trouble. They were called no-risk victims by the original detective.
We are dealing with a seriously depraved individual. And this is an individual that we all as a community need to have off the street.
And now this fresh look may just bring us closure, and it brings us right back to the front door.
There were smudges, like smudges. There are some handprints on the interior of the door.
Are those Pete's handprints?
Don't know. So, you know, technology changes.
Yeah.
And technology back then, we couldn't do ridge counting like we can now. So actually, I just recently discovered new fingerprints in this case, and we're having them reevaluated.
That evidence is at the lab right now, but even without it, we think we have new information and a person of interest in the case.
I think this was a score to settle. I can't give a whole lot of detail, again, because it's still an ongoing investigation. But we have good reason to think that either Renee or Pete, whatever information they knew, could potentially change somebody's life.
Coming up, we'll bring the evidence, the DNA, and the interviews all together in what could be a very pivotal moment in this case. In Orlando, Shannon Butler, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, very compelling. And again, tonight at 6, 9 investigates digging into the possible clues missed 10 years ago.
For 10 years, a family left searching for answers.
Well, why would someone do that to them? They didn't live a life that warranted that type of death.
Police with no motive and no suspects.
We are dealing with a seriously depraved individual. This is easily one of the most violent scenes that I've ever been to.
But now the files are back open as 9 Investigates reveals new clues that may solve this cold case mystery.
For the first time since Renee Collins and Pete Delhomme were killed back in 2015, Channel 9 has learned there is a person of interest in this case.
Yeah, Martha, 9 investigation and Butler shows us the potential evidence that may have held the clues for 10 years now.
Renee Collins and Peterson Delhomme were killed inside this apartment back in July of 2015.
The person who did this killed 2 unarmed, non-threatening, really good people.
This case, one of the most violent detectives had ever seen. But even with all the fingerprints, the DNA, and a witness, it was one they couldn't solve. The case now a decade later considered cold. That's why we're here.
The crime scene gets here and starts to do what?
So initially they kind of do just the overall photographs, walking through the apartment, trying not to disturb anything. But it's hard because there's blood everywhere. But we have other things that you have to be concerned with, like shoe prints and whose shoe print is whose.
And it's a shoe print, a Nike sneaker imprinted in the victim's blood that did not produce a lead at the time. That could now hold the key into solving the crime.
There's only one set of footprints we can identify in this apartment.
Channel 9 asked Orlando Police to allow us to look into their cold cases for months. I've been working with Orlando Police to see if there's something that could lead to closure for 2 families. We met with detectives to go over their case and then went back to this Rosemont complex with the detective to look at where it all happened. A neighbor called 911 early that Friday morning. Renee worked at a bank and had not yet gone to work. Pete, as he went by, worked the overnight shift as a security guard and was headed home. They think he may have walked in on the violence already taking place.
We get a 911 call. The person is a little delayed in calling, but he's really frantic, and he tells them, I live at 5225 Cinder Lane Parkway. I heard some commotion, and my neighbor see him coming out of his apartment, and somebody pulls him back in, but that's all I could see. I'm not there anymore.
Detectives found a bloody knife under the couple's balcony, but believe it was not the only weapon used. They sent hundreds of items from the apartment to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's forensic lab to look for DNA. I was allowed to look at these crime scene photos. They show blood smudges on the inside of the door around this deadbolt, and then a second clue.
They were smudges, like smudges. There are some handprints on the interior of the door.
Are those Pete's handprints?
Don't know. We're having them reevaluated. And
Fingerprints you had not noticed before?
correct. I never saw them before because I wasn't at the original scene.
Right.
But when we were going through different photographs again, because there's shoe prints that I need evaluated, so I was trying to figure it out, and that's how I see this fingerprint.
These 2 pieces of information discovered by Detective Eason has led now to a person of interest, someone who was on their radar before. Now we sit and wait as the DNA from both those finds comes back from the lab to see if we can finally close a cold case.
So I really think it had a lot to do with the limitations. So when they were getting the blood tested back then, they have Renee's profile, they have Pete's profile, but they do have an unidentified profile. That happens many times when, in this case, a lot of blood is mixed together.
The question is, how did this case go unsolved? But here's what we know. Here in Central Florida, there were 200 murders in 2015. 32 of those cases worked right here in Orlando with about a 64% clearance rate. Detectives now say sometimes it just takes a fresh set of eyes and new technology. In Orlando, Shannon Butler, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Incredibly compelling reporting there. So here is where this case stands right now. The new evidence has been sent to the lab at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for testing. The results could determine if there is a match on the person of interest. We have posted all 3 parts of Shannon's cold case investigation here on WFTV.com and our free mobile app.